picture of what it looks like if our power grid were to go down.
Two different amplifiers. If it's nationwide, then you don't have Houston able to help out Louisiana as an example. Then we have to count on France. Talking about something longer than a couple days. If this happens 6 to 9 months, amplifies it 1,000 to 1,000,000 fold. If we truly have an outage that is nationwide, that lasts 9 months, the EMP Commission mandated by U.S. Congress has much more authority and better funding than a congressional committee. They found that as many as 90% of Americans would die. 300 million. Yeah.
Wiped off the map, just like that. And how long did you say that would take?
9 months.
FBI Director Christopher Wray warns that China will become a bigger threat when he resigns. JD Vance gives an absolute masterclass of an interview about their plans for the future. The future of TikTok may boil down to a billionaire's purchase. And AT&T and Verizon prepare for cyber attacks that could affect all 50 states. Now, I got that and a whole lot more prepared for today, guys, starting with JD Vance and President Joe Biden's last-minute actions regarding illegal immigration. And guys, I just want to say thanks so much for rocking with me today. Thanks for clicking the like button and sharing these videos. You guys are awesome. Let's get started.
So President Biden is doing what he can on his way out the door on a number of issues, and critics would say some of those appear to be aimed at blunting what you all might have planned. Let's talk first about immigration. Politico has this headline: Biden extends temporary status of nearly 1 million migrants ahead of Trump deportations. It says the move allows people from certain countries who currently have temporary protected status, or TPS, to renew work permits and deportation protections, extending the program for El Salvador until March 2026 and Sudan, Ukraine, and Venezuela until October of 26. How does President Trump plan to handle these last-minute things, and what are his own executive actions planned, especially with regard to the border on day one?
Yeah, so Shannon, if you step back a little bit, I do think it's important to reiterate that not just on the border, but on a whole host of issues, President Biden has left us an absolute dumpster fire. Now, we're excited to get to work, but we need to be open and honest about the fact that President Biden has not left the next administration in a good place, right? FEMA's funds are depleted. We have a wide open southern border. Oil is going through the roof. Bond yields went from 4.1% to 4.8% in a month. And that's on top of the fact that President Biden has been running the largest peacetime deficits in the history of this country. So we've got a lot of debt, a lot of problems, and a wide open southern border. And thank God that Donald Trump takes office in a week and a half, because we need somebody to actually govern this country effectively. Now, on the border crisis in particular, the most important thing that we have to do is to send a message that America is closed to illegal immigration. For the past 4 years, we have been wide open, and you're going to see, I think, dozens of executive orders coming from the Trump administration, coming from us on day one, that send a message to Customs and Border Patrol: you guys are allowed to do your job again. And to illegal immigrants all over the world: you are not welcome into this country illegally. If you want to come through, you've got to come through proper channels.
It's no secret that the Biden-Harris administration plans to sabotage Trump's second term. And I believe that we've seen that with all of these late game decisions from President Joe Biden. JD Vance on his end believes that the president-elect is more than capable to get these things back in order once he's back in the White House. He also talked about J6, which is a very sensitive topic that's been discussed and focused on by mainstream media. But as we all know, JD Vance is very well informed, and he's coming from a place of truth.
January 6th pardons, President Trump says there's a process. Where is the line drawn on who will and wouldn't be considered for a pardon?
I think it's very simple. Look, if you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a little bit of a gray area there, but we're very much committed to seeing the equal administration of law. And there are a lot of people, we think, in the wake of January the 6th who were prosecuted unfairly. We need to rectify that.
The vice president-elect wasn't safe from criticism. In fact, the Hodge twins told JD Vance to rethink his statement, with them talking about a video of cops shooting at J6 protesters. Now, JD Vance gave a great response here. He said this: "First of all, I donated to the J6 Political Prisoner Fund and got roasted for it during my Senate race. I've been defending these guys for years. Second, there were federal informants in the crowd. Do they get a pardon? I don't think so." The president saying that he'll look at each case and me saying the same is not some walk back. I assure you, we care about people unjustly locked up. Yes, that includes people provoked and it includes people who got a garbage trial. Wow. And there's a lot of online users that agree with him. In fact, the idea is that J6 trials weren't fair to a lot of Americans. There was a very clear conflict of interest that wasn't addressed at all. And these people got punished. They had to sit and rot in jail because of it, with most, if not all of these convictions being politically motivated. And we have to agree that this isn't the justice that we want to see. So JD Vance saying that pardons are not applicable for everyone is fair. But here's my take on this. Isn't it nice to actually have government officials that you can actually address directly? Now, I understand that it's X, but you got a vice president responding to the people of this country over social media, which makes communication that much more important to us. Comment down below if you love the First Amendment. So Verizon and AT&T said late last year that their networks were targeted by cyber hackers, bad actors that had been connected to Chinese-linked cyber espionage operations against the country. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says that they've now worked to secure us from these types of attacks. But I'm just a little bit skeptical as to what secured means to these officials, because we got FBI Director Christopher Wray saying that the Chinese government is the greatest long-term threat that we're facing. He even went so far as to say this about them: China's cyber program is by far and away the world's largest, bigger than that of every major nation combined, and has stolen more of Americans' personal and corporate data than that of every nation, big or small, combined. But even beyond the cyber theft, there's another part of the Chinese cyber threat that I think has not gotten the attention publicly that I think desperately deserves. And that is Chinese government's pre-positioning on American civilian critical infrastructure to lie in wait on these networks to be in a position to wreak havoc and can inflict real-world harm at a time and place of their choosing. He said this after he was asked about the greatest threat that the incoming Trump administration will face. Now remember, this guy is leaving before Trump's in the White House. So he's telling us that as soon as the administration changes, China's about to make some moves. Really? I wonder how Christopher Wray really knows the timing of China's attacks. Is he in on it? Did they let him know something that we should know? Wouldn't that be treason, right? But what's frustrating here is he's talking about our infrastructure, basically owning up to say that he allowed this to happen under his own watch. He listed out the infrastructure that already has Chinese malware. He talked about water treatment plants, transportation systems, energy sector, electric grid, natural gas pipelines, and our telecommunications systems. So you really got to wonder here, guys, like, what has this guy been doing for the last 4 years? He's warning us about all this stuff that's about to just blow up after he leaves, and yet he knows about all of this infrastructure that has been basically hacked under his watch, and he's done nothing about it. But the only warning he can give us is that, hey, stuff's going to pop off as soon as I leave. What? Should that guy get locked up? Now, in line with this, guys, TikTok is also getting talked about a lot, especially with a ban coming soon. Many users believe that it would be detrimental, even though some believe that the app is in fact being used to spy on Americans. There is, however, a chance of the social media platform being saved, and that is if it ends up getting bought by somebody here in our country.
Why don't you buy TikTok? Move the servers to the United States, address the mental health concerns for young people, and that way everybody is happy and you're richer.
Well, that's about to happen if we get the right judgment from the justices at the Supreme Court, hoping to get that this week. They had the hearing on Friday. I listened to every word. And so what we're deciding now is to either uphold the order of Congress, bipartisan order to shut down TikTok. But I don't want it shut down. It's not good for my businesses. It's not good for 6 million other small businesses in America that make a living off it. We just need to take out the onerous piece, the spyware. And that's what Congress is upset about. And so our offer, my syndicate, along with Frank McCourt, we've put together an offer that actually we don't want to buy the algorithm. That one of the issues the company claimed in their case to the Supreme Court was no one's going to buy it without the algorithm. That's not true. We'll buy it without the algorithm because we can't use it. That's spyware. So we're going to rebuild the product and make it much better, actually. And we're hoping that this really kind of a binary outcome. If the justices rule for upholding the law, it'll go back to the executive. That's currently Biden. If he can see a valid purchase offer, which we've sent it to the company, all the shareholders and the Chinese government, they have it now. And he'll say, look, I think you guys should negotiate in good faith. We'll offer you, if you wish, negotiate a 90-day stay of execution, so to speak. And then we'll be working for Donald Trump at 12:05 on January 20th. So this is a very complicated bipartisan deal. It's what we want to do to save the platform for Americans. I think it's the right thing to do. And the company should want that too. This is the only path I see forward.
Are you guys okay with that? Because it's true that a lot of businesses and a lot of influencers rely on TikTok. Taking TikTok away would be bad news for a lot of us. Now, on that note, guys, there's a lot of bad news for California Governor Gavin Newsom. He's getting called out for his disastrous response to these wildfires, prompting him to beg Donald Trump for help. The desperation is hitting new levels. Anyway, make sure you guys check out my previous live stream that covers this and more. As always, appreciate y'all hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you guys next time.